Without doing a Google search, can you picture what the Minnesota state flag looks like?
Something more recognizable is one reason a redesign is up for debate again. But that's not the only reason for an updated look, according to a member of the Ojibwe.
When that state seal was made in 1858, Henry Sibley, who designed it, wanted the Indian traveling west and leaving Minnesota.
There is a redesign bill in the legislature, but WCCO's Marielle Moe shows us how a classroom of 7th graders is already one step ahead of lawmakers.
It bothers me, kind of. If it's more brighter and it's more simplistic, people will be more proud of it rather than the big seal we have.
I think we should remake it to make it more of what Minnesota is today.
These South St. Paul 7th graders are not the biggest fans of what the Minnesota state flag looks like today. All blue with a state seal in the middle.
Our state bird, the loon, I think I'd like to recognize that more.
So they took what they're proud of about our states and reimagined what the flag could look like.
You do have the loon, you have the eye of the loon, but the North Star.
South St. Paul history teacher Mark Westfall shows off what his class came up with.
Marissa came up with the main concept.
Marissa Miller came up with this design that mainly looks like a loon, but she says there's even more meaning to it. The blue is the rivers and lakes. The red around the eye represents Fort Snelling. The white dots of the loon stand for all the Dakota and Ojibwe tribes.
Everyone should be included in it.
I wanted to incorporate it into my class because it taught us a little bit more about the government process in general, but it also really gave my students an opportunity to explore what the history of our flag really means.
Westfall hopes these flag ideas make their way in front of lawmakers so they can be part of the history they're learning about.
We can always tell more of the story. It's not that we're taking away from the story that was there.
In South St. Paul, Marielle Moe, WCCO 4 News.
This bill continues to move through Senate and House committees. If it passes, the bill says that the redesign would need to be done by January of next year.
This time next year, Minnesota will have a new state flag that some hope stands out from all the rest. The current design of a blue background with the state seal has waved over Minnesota since 1957. As WCCO's Caroline Cummings explains, the new law means a big upgrade is coming.
The state flag flying high above the state capitol will soon get a new look.
I certainly hope the new flag will be something iconic that represents Minnesota in a significant way.
DFL Representative Mike Freiberg carried a bill to change it for years before it finally passed this session. A 13-member commission is tasked with deciding the new vision.
It's a diverse group of stakeholders that will be involved. I think they'll come up with both a flag and a seal that we can be proud of.
Some people already have their own ideas.
So come just the flag itself.
Last year, WCCO traveled to Rochester, where one flag enthusiast is already selling one of them, the North Star flag.
The star is the North Star. The blue, well, that's our 10,000 lakes.
Supporters of the change say the current one violates, quote, good flag design, but its imagery is also problematic, depicting a white farmer tilling the land as a Native American rides off in the distance.
For me, kind of perpetuated a false narrative of what happened to Dakota people in the state.
Angela Two Stars, a member of Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate, says she's excited about the effort to change it. The redesign group will have 2 members from the Dakota and Ojibwe communities. The law says the commission must develop and adopt a new state flag and seal by January. And then come May, when we celebrate Minnesota Statehood Day, the new symbols will become official.
And so the fact that Minnesota is open to this idea of reevaluating, reassessing its flag design, I think that's incredible. And I think that's going to do so much for Dakota people here in Minnesota to be valued and seen.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The law says the new designs must accurately and respectfully reflect Minnesota's shared history, resources, and diverse cultural communities. The Flag Commission will be appointed by the governor and about a dozen other organizations by August 1st. The process of giving the Minnesota state flag a facelift began today. The legislature formed a commission to redesign the state seal and flag by next year. Our Caroline Cummings explains the work ahead.
Every Statehood Day, the electrolier shines brightly inside the state capitol. But when the celebration comes around next year, it will be the first time a new state flag flies high above the building, too.
What I am looking forward to is creating a flag that we can all be proud of, and a flag that everybody can look at and say, yeah, that's Minnesota's flag. That's a cool flag.
Tuesday, the State Emblems Redesign Commission, a 13-member panel plus non-voting state lawmakers, met for the first time. Their task is to retire this state seal, which is the imagery on the state flag, and give both of them a fresh look. One member's hope is distinctive and inclusive.
This is important for us to identify and represent who we are as Minnesota.
Supporters of the change say the current seal is problematic, displaying a settler tilling the land as a Native American rides off in the distance. They also say it violates the tenets of good flag design, simple and distinct with meaningful symbols.
So hopefully we get some flags out in front of people's houses after this.
The meeting was mostly an introduction and a way to chart the course for the next few months. It's a tall order. Come up with a new state seal and flag with public input by the new year. And some suggest asking the legislature for an extension.
We have to be thoughtful and thorough about this. We have two big tasks ahead of us, a flag and a seal. Even one would make this an ambitious project by January 1st.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The seal and flag are official once the commission sends a report to lawmakers. They don't need to vote, and no further action is needed from the legislature. Here's a question for you. What should the new state flag look like? A panel wants your input.
This session, lawmakers assembled a commission to come up with a new state seal and flag to fly starting next May. Our current flag has been around for more than 6 decades. As Caroline Cummings reports, some Minnesotans already have their own visions for the future flag.
You can see it from any angle and recognize it. It's fresh colors. I think it looks evocative of Minnesota.
What flies outside of Kevin Gallatin's home isn't the official state flag, but he hopes it will be soon.
I'm really excited that we're going to have a new flag, period. I think there's a lot wrong with the old flag.
He's a supporter of the North Star flag, an alternative that's been around for decades. But there hadn't been any movement at the Capitol to change the one we currently have until now. The new State Emblems Redesign Commission will pick the successor, and it's asked Minnesotans to weigh in. 50 designs were submitted within the first 24 hours of accepting new ideas on Monday. Now they have a couple hundred.
I want to see state pride in our flag. I want to see it on merchandise. I want to see it flown at sporting events. I want people to be able to recognize it anywhere in the country.
Minnesotans will have until October 30th to submit their designs for the state seal and or the state flag. Then the commission will choose the top 5 with more public input to follow.
In the background, the yellow 4-point directional star.
This is St. Paul resident Brandon Hunt's design he submitted for consideration. The star, a nod to the North Star state, against a blue backdrop, the land of 10,000 lakes. He's had it ready to go for a while.
When I share my flag, I think it actually gets more positive feedback than I even would have anticipated even before this became a thing.
Hunt hopes it's his design that makes the final cut, but ultimately he and other flag enthusiasts want a symbol that Minnesotans can be proud of.
I think to have a symbol that best represents the state would be really cool and go a long way.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The commission must present its choice by January 1st for it to fly by Statehood Day on May 11th. If you want to submit your ideas, you will find more information on the story on WCCO.com.
New tonight, an immersive art exhibit is sparking conversations and ideas about Minnesota's state flag. The flag and state seal are being redesigned with just a little over a week left for the public to submit ideas. WCCO's Kirsten Mitchell shows us how a local artist is deconstructing the flag as it stands today.
What makes a good state flag, in your opinion?
I think simplicity. If you ask an adult in Minnesota, what does the flag look like? A lot of people have no idea.
As Minnesotans weigh in on the future of the state flag, artist Luis Fitch is exploring its symbolic past.
It's the same flag from one step to another, but you start jumping steps and you go, wait a minute, this changed dramatically, the meaning and everything that it says.
8 flags make up his exhibit, Deconstructing the Minnesota Flag.
So this is the original flag.
Fitch strips down the flag from the axe and rifle.
Now it looks a little bit less violent, you know.
To the white settler.
To be fair, all humans got removed on this one.
He removes text, symbols, and color.
Even the blue, because blue, the color is part of branding, right? It's an element that represents something. And so you can see what happens. And this is just a white flag.
A blank canvas for fresh ideas.
A bunch of kids who come over and draw, and I think they're great. Any of these can be a winner. you know?
The exhibit flags are not proposals, but rather conversation starters.
What do you hope people who come to this exhibit walk away feeling or thinking about?
We'll want to get to know the flag before it literally disappears. I think we can do better. It can be more representative of where we are right now, and hopefully it's a flag that works for the next 50, 100 years.
The Deconstructing the Minnesota Flag exhibit will run through December 18th here at North Hennepin Community College. As for the official state flag and seal redesign project, the deadline to submit ideas is October 30th. Reporting in Brooklyn Park, Kirsten Mitchell, WCCO News.
Fitch is also the chair of the State Emblems Redesign Commission, though his involvement there is separate from the exhibit. So far, he says the state's received around 800 submissions. They will be narrowed down by the end of the year.
The state is a big step closer to replacing the Minnesota flag. After thousands of submissions, we are down to 6 finalists.
Caroline Cummings is at the Capitol to show us which designs survived the cut down.
The State Emblems Redesign Commission, the 13-member panel tasked with choosing the new state flag and seal, spent hours here in the Minnesota Senate building analyzing the submissions like the ones you see behind me. But ultimately, it was 6 finalists for the flag facelift. These are the choices they landed on, narrowed from a pool of 2,100 flag submissions. The finalists reflect common themes and elements. All of them include a North Star, a nod to the state's motto, L'Etoile du Nord, and some shade of blue for the land of 10,000 lakes. A few included green and white in the color palette too. First, the panel picked their top 25 each, which narrowed the field to a couple hundred. Then they went back and forth to land on the final choices. Minnesotans will get to share their feedback on the designs to the commission, which has been overwhelmed by the interest.
The experience for me has been phenomenal, incredible. I'm very proud of Minnesota submitting so many flag designs and concepts and great narrations about what the iconography means for them, and the seals too.
The public will get to weigh in on the finalists for the flag as well as the seal before the commission submits a report to the legislature by the new year. Then the final pick of each will debut on Statehood Day, which is May 11th. At the Capitol, Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
You can check out the 6 flag finalists on our website, WCCO.com. And we've also posted the finalists for the new state seal.
It's a topic that has Minnesotans talking, and after 66 years, we're getting queued up to get a new state flag. An appointed commission has narrowed down the options. Our Jason Rantala is live with a look at the finalists and what's coming up next. Jason.
Hey, Shayla. Well, these are the final 6 picked by the State Emblems Redesign Commission. As you can see, we put them on a nice poster board for displayment purposes. Now, these 6 were narrowed down from choices of over 2,000, so really a lot to kind of go through. The 13-member panel spent hours Tuesday night in the Minnesota Senate building looking at the submissions. The flag designs were narrowed down from thousands to hundreds, and then 6, each design meticulously analyzed. There are common themes on each of the flags. They all include the North Star and a shade of blue for the land of 10,000 lakes. Supporters of changing the flag say the current flag that's been in place since 1957 say the flag we now have contains offensive imagery and violates the tenets of good flag design. Here are some initial thoughts from those we talked to today.
Yeah, I'm bummed out.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. There's no loons in any of these 6.
And I would like to see a little baby loon on the back of an adult loon in the water by a lily pad.
They're okay. I'll tolerate them. I could obviously do better.
How would you make them better?
I would make them less. I would change the color scheme. The color scheme bothers me.
Clearly, everyone's a critic. Everyone has their own thoughts. We asked folks out today, which of these 6 would you pick? We'll have the answer on WCCO News tonight at 5. Shayla.
All right. Can't wait to see your report, Jason. Thanks so much.
Well, Minnesotans have a lot of feelings about the new state flag designs after the commission tasked with choosing new ideas picked the finalists this week. So why are we getting a new flag in the first place? And how else can you have a say in the process? Caroline Cummings answers your top questions.
And I think we were all looking for, I certainly was, something that's timeless. In 100 years, would this still look good.
Of the more than 2,600 submissions to the State Emblems Redesign Commission, it narrowed to these 6 flags, all of them with a star for the North Star state, and all of them including some shade of blue.
There's no loons in any of these 6.
And I would like to see a little baby loon on the back of an adult loon.
There were many submissions that included a loon, Minnesota state bird, on them, and many of you wondered, well, why didn't it make the final cut on any of the designs? Well, members of the committee say that they wanted symbols that were inclusive of all Minnesotans, and you can't find a loon in southern Minnesota.
What are we if we're not the North Star?
I didn't favor animals on the flags, but I did on the seals.
And one of the favorites of most committee members and an ultimate state seal finalist does include a loon on it. There are 5 finalists in total for the new state seal.
The current state flag is simply the state seal on a blue background with Minnesota's name on it.
But the commission is instructed by law to create 2 separate designs, one for the flag and one for the seal.
Flag experts say that's because good flags are simple with meaningful symbols, and state seals are busy and you can't recognize them from far away, like a flag flying high above a building. State seals are also intended for government documents.
I would change the color scheme. The color scheme bothers me.
I would think this one probably.
That one right there.
For years, there's been discussion about changing the state flag. Some say it looks too much like other state flags, and others have problems with the imagery on the seal, which is on the state flag.
It depicts a settler plowing the land as a Native American rides off into the distance.
That's why the DFL-led legislature established the 13-member State Emblems Redesign Commission to pick new ideas. The top designs for the seal and flag will be submitted in a report to the legislature by January 1st, and then they'll debut on May 11th, which is Statehood Day. But for now, Minnesotans can weigh in on which of the finalists they like best. Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
To share your thoughts with the commission about what designs you like best, we have a link on our website, WCCO.com.
Last year, Minnesota leaders asked the public to help reimagine the state flag and emblem.
And you really delivered. Today, the commission shared 2,100 designs in the running. As Derek James shows us, it's safe to say they're pretty creative.
The designs ran the gamut of reverent to just plain ridiculous. As you can imagine, many people chose the beloved loons, stars, and loons with stars as featured icons. 85% of the submissions were for the flag, and the remaining 15% were for the seal. There was also no shortage of the state's most precious resource, water. If nothing else, Minnesotans are making sure they're known for their 10,000 plus lakes. According to state statute, the new designs must accurately and respectfully reflect Minnesota's shared history, resources, and diverse cultural communities. And Minnesota residents really flexed their artistic muscles for these submissions. Many entries were completely hand-drawn or painted, also proving people of all ages participated in the statewide brainstorm. Many of the designs showcased our well-known icons and pastimes, like enjoying a hot bowl of tater tot hot dish, letting out a hearty oofda after a long day, and of course, the great sport of hockey. And some folks didn't design anything at all. They simply submitted photos of what they already considered perfect. This photo, submitted of someone's presumed pet dog, has created quite the hilarious chatter online and in our newsroom. Derek James, WCCO News.
Good looking dog.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, all right. If you saw designs you like or ones that you really didn't like, you're in luck because the public is invited to comment before the commission members pick the top 25 choices by mid-November.
The commission will then pick 5 finalists, and a new state flag is set to be officially adopted on May 11th, which is Statehood Day.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
You could put a stag on one. That'd be Minnesota. Yeah. All right, this design caught my eye. I had no idea there were that many loons designs, but I kind of like the blue, and I liked Mama and Baby Loon, and of course the North Star.
And as you saw in Derek's package, a lot of the designs were similar. I kind of like this one because there's the North Star, there's this, the tree image, river imagery, and then the state. The outline of the state.
Yeah,
they're very similar. A lot of them are really similar.
There are a lot of similar ones, and it'll take you a while, but if you want to look at them, we have all 2,000 plus on WCCO.com, so check them out. The future of the state flag is getting a lot of buzz.
The state commission in charge of picking a new flag and seal has narrowed it down to 6. Caroline Cummings spoke with some of the people who created those designs.
Hanging outside of the Pittman's home is the Minnesota state flag of their dreams, a design the father-son duo created together.
A real pleasure to just kind of connect in this way.
Todd's the graphic designer. I am the world's worst artist.
But the melding of their minds led to this, the Mirror of the Sky flag, one of the 6 finalists to replace Minnesota's current flag with something new.
We arrived at something that we thought was a really good representation of the aurora.
But Todd and Peter Pittman say the flag evokes much more.
There's a lot more to that flag than meets the eye.
Minnesota's waters, the North Star, and even a loon, a missing element from the finalists that some Minnesotans were hoping for. Todd calls it a happy accident.
And we decided to accentuate it a little bit, to maybe not look exactly like a loon, but to call to mind the essence of one.
What went through your head when you realized one of your design was among the finalists?
I was like, this is so wild and crazy.
Sarah Agatone House created this flag with a prominent star and a symbol for a pine tree. The striped stitching along the side is for all of Minnesota's counties and tribal nations.
I also just feel really fortunate to be able to highlight that Minnesota is like a really diverse place.
She, like many others, feel the current flag is harmful and needs a facelift.
I think flags are just this really important part of how we tell the story of who we are.
And Minnesota is a vast tapestry of many different communities. I think what the Mirror of the Sky flag does is inspire that sense of coming together.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The next meeting of the Flag Commission is on Tuesday. They will submit new flag and seal designs to the legislature by January 1st.
Well, there's good news for loon lovers this evening.
The commission choosing the new flag and seal landed on this as the new state seal design. As you can see, Minnesota's official state bird is prominently featured in the center there. Our Caroline Cummings is here. So, Caroline, there's still more work to do, though.
Yes, they've got a lot on their plates before they're required to wrap up at the end of this year. But this is one significant step forward the commission made this morning, unanimously choosing the loon design as the state seal, subject to some small design changes. The decision comes as the commission runs up against the clock with only 2 meetings left. They chose this design, citing broad public support. There were 6,000 comments submitted to the group about the seal designs. They may still make a few small tweaks like the shape of the star or the loon's eye color, but rest assured the state bird will stay. This will be the framework for the seal, which is on official government documents, guys.
Oh, interesting. Of course, the flag's getting all the attention. That's a big deal. What's going on there?
Right, so that's the big task ahead of them now. Choosing one from these top 6 designs, all of them have some sort of star to symbolize the North Star state and a shade of blue. 15,000 people submitted their input to the commission about these ideas. So clearly, Minnesotans care a lot about the future of the state flag. The next commission meeting is a week from today, and they'll have to submit a report with the new state seal and state flag to the state legislature by January 1st, and both designs will make their big debut on Statehood Day on May 11th, guys.
I love the passion that people have.
Oh my gosh,
right?
So much passion, so many comments, guys. It's really been fun to watch it all happen.
Well, thanks for keeping us up to date.
The commission choosing the new state symbols landed on a loon design to be the new state seal. Caroline Cummings spoke with the winning designer that soared to the top of the list.
Designed a lot of loons and Paul Bunyans, so the idea was in my head pretty quick.
Local designer Ross Brugink says he was watching a movie with his young daughters when he started sketching out the ideas. And it's these doodles that transformed into the future seal of the state of Minnesota, chosen by the State Emblems Redesign Commission.
I feel very honored. I mean, this is such a great opportunity, and I'm so excited that this is moving forward.
The commission cited broad public support when it picked Brugink's idea from the top 5, subject to small tweaks. He says he's working on those now, fine-tuning for the final product.
Looking at different typefaces, working on letter spacing, looking at the red eye of the loon. Doing my best to not turn it into a laser eye.
Were you surprised, or were you pretty convinced that I know my seal is a really good one?
Well, it was the only one with a loon on there, so based on public reaction, it felt like it was a contender.
Bruging's vision for the new flag is also a finalist. Here, he traded a loon for the star instead.
We're the North Star state, so it makes a lot of sense to use that. It feels a little bit more all-encompassing.
The commission must complete its work by the end of the year. Now it shifts focus to picking a flag out of the top 6 designs. Then it will wave across Minnesota on Statehood Day in May, and that's when the state seal will debut too. In St. Paul, Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The next commission meeting is Tuesday. We'll, of course, keep you updated on their progress.
We want to go back now to the state capitol and the decision about a new state flag. The commission tasked with choosing it has picked the design, but the final tweaks are yet to be made. Caroline Cummings is at the capitol. So, Caroline, I understand there is a lot of thought going into this.
There is a lot of thought, Amelia, and that's why we stopped short of an actual flag design, the final one that will fly above the Minnesota State Capitol building and other state buildings, and instead arrived at the framework of that concept. So if you look behind me here, there is a poster board with some of the iterations of what that final flag concept could look like. They got to this design after discussion back and forth among the finalists. There was 2 other finalists for the concept, and they landed here. With the North Star, what looks like a geometric shape of the state of Minnesota, and some shade of blue. There's a debate about if they're going to include some green into it. These are discussions that they will have at their next meeting on Tuesday. And we just spoke with the chair of the commission, who says that they are committed to picking that flag design on Tuesday because they're coming up against the clock here. There is a deadline looming for a report to be submitted to the legislature by January 1st with the new seal and new state flag design. And they need to get that work done before the holidays. So they're pretty committed to picking from this bunch behind me by Tuesday's meeting, Amelia.
All right. Thank you, Caroline.
Some think we could have a new state flag tomorrow.
It's been a process that you've all been very interested in. And this was the winning design created by a young man in Laverne. But tomorrow, the commission will consider different variations and designs of this particular flag. We spoke with the vice chair, who says that each change prompts a discussion about the symbolism that is lost or included. So the green for our agriculture and forests, and the blue for our waters and skies.
I have a firm confidence that I do think we will be able to agree upon the final design tomorrow. You know, it is getting crunch time for us on the commission. We have to finalize a flag design. We have to get our final report ready, and that has to be delivered to the legislature on January 1.
There is a hybrid meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can leave comments or learn how to tune into that meeting on our website.
The North Star is a prominent part of the state flag, which actually led us down the research path to learn how it became so important in Minnesota. We visited the library at the Minnesota History Center and checked this out. The staff showed us the original list of possible state mottos drafted by Henry Sibley, Minnesota's first governor. Dozens of ideas that had nothing to do with the North Star, written down in 1849. And we also saw the original drawings that inspired the first state seal. It started with just a Native American on a horse, then farming equipment was added, then a farmer working in a field in front of the Native American. Tonight at 10, though, for Good Question, we'll focus mainly on the state motto, L'Étoile du Nord, the North, well, the Star of the North, right? And then, of course, the North Star itself, and how the two are now forever intertwined, which is what stands out to me. That list that Henry Sibley made, I mean, dozens of names that didn't say North Star. They said things like be right and persist, onward, which I think became important in Wisconsin. But he lands on the Star of the North, and now we permanently are looking at ourselves like we have the Minnesota North Stars, everything's connected to it, all because he didn't like his other list.
It's in the flag, too. I just got some responses from the person who designed the winning flag. I just got an email like 2 seconds ago. He designed 50 other flags before he came up with that winning one that you just saw. And he said the support has been overwhelming. He's a 24-year-old guy from Laverne. And so to be chosen, he's really excited about that.
I hope he can handle the press that might come with this.
Here's a tip. I mean, it sounds like he's got some experience, but there are going to be very nasty things on social media, and you're just going to have to ignore them because that's what we do.
He did say, yes, he did say there's been mixed feedback, but overwhelmingly like positive support and rallying around him. Like that's going to be his fun fact for life.
Oh, yes.
I designed the Minnesota state flag, so congrats to him.
All right.
Soon, a new state flag will fly high over Minnesota.
The commission in charge of the redesign casted their final vote today, and here it is. It has an abstract shape of Minnesota, the North Star to represent our state motto, and 2 shades of blue, a nod to our waterways. Caroline Cummings has been covering the process for the last 4 months, and she joins us now. I bet everybody's just relieved.
Well, I am, as someone who's been covering this, Amelia, for 4 months and many hours-long meetings later got us here. So did 2,100 submissions for the flag redesign that came from the public and a few hundred more for the state seal. But ultimately, this one was the winner. The commission members made the case today that less is more because, remember, the final flag concept they agreed on last week included more colors. The edits they voted on today include key symbols that prevailed throughout the process, a star for the North Star state, and blue to signify our vast and distinct lakes and rivers.
It was sometimes very hard because we were doing 2 projects at the same time. We're doing the seal and the flag, and that's very unique. And to me, it seemed normal that my deadlines on my real projects are always like this, but with not so much politics. But other than that, I think I'm very pleased with the results today.
No doubt it was a tall order in that time frame. Commission members often pointed to Utah and the time and money it took to redesign their state flag, 18 months and $500,000, compared to Minnesota, which had a 4-month timeline and a budget allocated by the legislature of $35,000. We've also heard from you at home. How much will this cost to replace the current flag when the new one debuts next May? Well, we're looking into it and plan to have that answer very soon, Amelia.
All right, look forward to that, Caroline. Thank you.
The commission tasked with reimagining key state symbols has picked the new flag and state seal.
They buttoned up the flag discussion this week, landing on this as the final design. It has an abstract shape of Minnesota, the North Star, and blue for Minnesota's vast waters. The seal, which goes on official government documents, includes a loon, the state bird, and Minnesota makoche. That's the Dakota phrase for land where the waters reflect the clouds from which the state gets its name.
And even though the panel made their pick, we know that you still have lots of questions, and here to answer some of them is Caroline Cummings, who's been following this commission since day one, let's be honest. So Caroline, these are the choices, but they're not going to make their debut just yet.
No, the commission still has to meet again before the year's end to put together a report to the legislature by January 1st detailing those choices. It doesn't need lawmakers' up or down vote, though. These designs will take effect on May 11th, which is Statehood Day, unless the legislature passed a separate law undoing all of that work. And in a DFL-controlled legislature, which passed this commission in the first place, that seems unlikely. But some Republicans hope there is a way to put the designs directly before voters on the ballot next year.
Now, we've seen this with other states, Colorado, California, Arizona, to name a few. There's T-shirts, mugs, stickers, all with the flag on them. So how does that look here?
So the commission sought the advice of the Attorney General's office and said all of the 2,500 designs submitted to the commission are property of the state, including the final ones, but the new flag and sea will enter what we call the public domain, which means anyone can have access and use them to make any merch they'd like. So the t-shirts, the mugs, the magnets, postcards, you name it. It's unclear, though, when that step will happen, but there's already one company out there, Flags for Good, that's allowing pre-orders for the new flag online right now at $17 a piece if you guys want to get one.
Yes, well, so some people will make money off of this, but we obviously spent some money too, and people are asking quite often, how much does this all cost?
Right. So the legislature authorized a budget of $35,000 to complete this work. And according to the Minnesota Historical Society, which provided administrative support to the commission, that money went to support those staff, travel costs for commissioners who lived outside of the metro area, and printing of the designs for review. That does not cover the cost to replace the new seal or flag in public buildings. We've gotten a lot of questions from you guys at home about this, and we'll have more on what we know about those costs coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, guys.
Yeah, this is not the last of your flag story.
No, I think I will be the flag lady for the foreseeable future.
We appreciate your service. Thank you.
As you know, we are getting a new state flag.
A lot of you have reached out wondering how much an upgrade will cost. Caroline Cummings is following this. If you think about it, I mean, there's the seal, the flag, all the state buildings, logos, everything. I mean, are you getting an idea of what's happening now?
Right. We're finally getting a little bit of a picture, but there's still some questions yet to be answered, and we'll get to those. But we can start with what we know for sure, and that's the state legislature allocated $35,000 to the State Emblems Redesign Commission to come up with both the new state flag and the state seal. That's a small drop in the bucket when we're talking about a $72 billion total state budget. And according to the Minnesota Historical Society doing administrative work for the panel, that money covers staff support, supplies for the commission like printing a report they have to do for lawmakers, and travel costs to get to St. Paul for a few in-person meetings. It does not cover the actual replacement of the seal and flag, like you mentioned, Frank, on the state capitol or other public buildings. That would be up to the government agencies responsible for managing those places. We checked in with some of them, like the Secretary of State's office and the Minnesota State Patrol, and most said they don't know the full costs for changing symbols yet. The Department of Administration, for example, manages buildings on Capitol grounds. A spokesperson told us that they often replace flags every few months because of wear and tear, and that swapping in this new one fits in that regular rotation. The department said the total cost last year to replace the state flags on the Capitol complex was about $1,400. And of course, we'll keep you updated if we learn anything more about the total cost for this project.
And are we sure that one's going through?
The state flag?
Yeah, the
yeah,
design?
That's the one, unless lawmakers do something crazy to undo that work.
So they could change it.
Well, not really, but yes, kind of.
All right.
Maybe we'll do another story on that one, Frank.
I'm curious. All right. Well, the votes are in, and Minnesota has a new state flag. It will become official next year.
As Caroline Cummings reports, an expert says it passes the design test.
Motion passed. The State Emblems Redesign Commission overwhelmingly approved the new state flag this week. And this is it, with an abstract shape of Minnesota, a star for the North Star State, and 2 shades of blue, a nod to Minnesota's waters.
Minnesota's new flag ticks off all the boxes.
Ted Kay is the secretary for the North American Vexillological Association, or NAVA, a group of flag enthusiasts who study them. He wrote a book on what makes for a good flag design.
These are great designed well-designed flags that are widely used and loved in their states. And that's the club that Minnesota is joining with this flag.
Flags, he says, should be simple, have meaningful symbols, include no more than 3 colors. They also shouldn't have letters or state seals on them and should be distinctive. Kay testified to the commission during this process.
With those principles, what grade does Minnesota's new flag get from your group?
NAVA does not grade flags. NAVA is an association of members, and this member said it was an A+.
Feedback on the design from Minnesotans so far has been mixed.
I like it better than what the original flag is.
It's different. It's, can I say boring?
Kay thinks in time they'll come around.
Through familiarity and understanding the symbolism, people come to love the flag that represents the state they love. And that's my prediction for Minnesota.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
The new flag and state seal are set to officially make their debut May 11th, which is Statehood Day. The commission will meet once more to put a report together for the legislature.
Want to ask you about the new state flag. What do you think of this design? There it is. What are your thoughts about it? Now there are some Republicans who say they will put a bill before the legislature that would somehow put this flag design and the seal design, which is different, the seal has a loon on it, before the public for a vote. What do you think of this? I mean, a lot of people aren't sure about this design.
Well, look, governors have to deal with a lot of things. This is not the top one on that, but our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective of that. But look, while Republicans are going to be talking about this, I'm going to be building roads, bridges, and water treatment plants. While Republicans are talking about this, I'm going to be making sure our kids are eating and we're creating job creation. So they can debate it in the legislature. We'll see where it goes. But I think anytime time change comes. I think a lot of Minnesotans, when they look, our flag looks like 19 other states. The
current flag.
Yeah, the best designs are Colorado, Texas, South Carolina, because they follow basic flag principles, and that's what the committee who put this together, a very diverse group, and we have experts in that. I did not know there were necessarily experts in flag design, but there are.
Okay.
So.
The debate over the new state flag design is not over. Two Republican lawmakers say they want people, Minnesotans, to vote on the controversial design. However, the Minnesota Secretary of State says this issue cannot go straight to the ballot, and instead a constitutional amendment would be needed to change it. Here's Esme Murphy.
This is the newly redesigned Minnesota state flag. A state commission spent months going over different proposals and gathering thousands of comments from the public before last month finally settling on this design, featuring an 8-point star and an abstract outline of the state. Not everyone's in love with it. Flag shops are reporting flags with this old design are selling out. The Minnesota Republican Party is even raising money by selling T-shirts with the old design that say, "Save the flag" and "Don't PC our flag." The latest blow, Republicans want the people of Minnesota to vote on the new design.
Now the people of Minnesota are saying, you know what, you have a product here, Legislative Commission, that we don't recognize ourselves as part of. And we're hearing that again and again.
The old flag and seal share an outdated and for many offensive design of a Native American riding off into the sunset as a farmer plows his field in the foreground. The commission also designed a new state seal which features a loon and has been far less controversial. But Republicans want to vote on that one too. Governor Tim Walz was dismissive of any kind of move to undo what a state commission took months to decide.
While Republicans are going to be talking about this, I'm going to be building roads, bridges, and water treatment plants. While Republicans are talking about this, I'm going to be making sure our kids are eating and we're creating job creation. So
any push to redo what this commission has chosen in terms of these new designs may be a tough sell in the Minnesota legislature. The Democrats still control both the House and Senate, and while there are likely Democrats who don't like the new designs, it appears that the new designs do have a very powerful ally. A staffer tells us that the Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman, has the new flag design on the door of her office. In Minneapolis, Esme Murphy, WCCO News.
Late this afternoon, Speaker Hortman issued a statement. It says, in part, we changed the flag for a reason. In addition to it being a poor design, it was offensive to a large number of people. There will not be the votes to delay, reverse, or put the flag to a referendum. In a little over 2 months, on May 11th, this design will officially become Minnesota's new state flag. That is, unless Republicans at the Capitol have their way.
Today, they launched efforts to stop all the design and debate of the last year and potentially start over from scratch. WCCO's Alan Henry explains why it may be a non-starter.
We're not against change. We're against having people force the change upon us without hearing from us.
For those Minnesotans still upset over the new state flag design and how it was picked, Tuesday afternoon at the Capitol was their chance to have their voice heard, something they say was missing in the process.
They ran $20 million of campaign ads to get elected, but I don't remember one of them saying we needed a new state flag. Nothing says diversity and inclusion like a small group of people from one political party telling everybody what diversity and inclusion is.
Republicans in the minority at the Capitol and on the design committee agree and are trying to take action, introducing 3 bills to roll back the new flag.
13 unelected members spoke for 5.7 million people.
We are advocating for nothing more than the right of Minnesotans to vote on what represents them. That's the question, and that's what these bills are designed to do.
The first bill Republicans are proposing would poll Minnesotans for feedback and potential changes to be made in the next session. The second would authorize a local ballot measure so Minnesotans could vote on the flag design. The third would be a constitutional amendment allowing for a referendum on the flag. Any of those bills would need support from Democrats, something that doesn't seem likely when we recently asked the governor about the efforts.
Our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective of that. But look, while Republicans are going to be talking about this, I'm going to be building roads, bridges, and water treatment plants.
Alan Henry, WCCO News.
TFL Speaker of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman, has said that there will not be the votes to delay, reverse, or put the flag to a referendum. And in December, Secretary of State Steve Simon told us that Minnesota doesn't have a system for lawmakers to send questions like this to voters outside of a constitutional amendment.
So some people love it.
others not so much. But in 15 days, this will be Minnesota's new state flag. We'll talk to the Minnesotan behind the design. He talked to us about it for the first time.
It is such a privilege and an honor, and I'm so excited to be able to be part of such an important process.
Andrew Precker lives in Laverne. He does not have a design background and says he put in a lot of research.
Vexillology research, which is about the experts in flags, polling on different websites to see what people wanted to see on the flag and things. And I also did a lot of research into Minnesotan history and culture. I knew that it would be a very important symbol, and so I wanted to do it justice.
So this was Precker's original design. The State Commission kept the North Star in the abstract shape of Minnesota, but nixed the stripes and opted for the all blue, which Precker says represents water. Now, it's gotten pushback from some who wanted more of a say on the new flag. Precker says he doesn't take the criticism personally.
For me, it is an important change. It is necessary to be inclusive to all people in Minnesota, especially our indigenous communities and tribal nations.
Right now, Minnesota's flag shows a white settler tilling on land as an indigenous man rides off on horseback. Many consider that imagery racist. The new flag makes its official debut on Flag Day. That is May 11th.
166 years ago today, Minnesota became the 32nd state to join the United States of America. But this statehood day is special for another reason. Minnesota's new flag and state seal are officially the state's new symbols, seen here flying over the Capitol today. WCCO's Alan Henry was at today's Statehood Day reception, where state leaders celebrated the new chapter of Minnesota history.
This is the day that Minnesota formally, officially, and legally adopts a new state flag and a new state seal.
The new symbols of the state of Minnesota were hard to miss today on everything from pins to cakes. The designers of the new state flag and seal admitted to being a little overwhelmed by the moment.
On the drive up, we passed a Hilton hotel and I saw it flying on one of their flagpoles. I was like, oh my gosh, there's my flag. So we all just stopped and took pictures of the hotel and the flag. So that was pretty cool.
When it was revealed, to see the sign and have it in dimension, and to see it as a gold stamp on the programs today, it's just awesome seeing it in use and seeing its versatility. And I just feel so proud that it'll be used for generations.
Secretary of State Steve Simon introduced the emblems, describing the 4-month process the committee went through last year to pick the final designs.
2,128 flag submissions and 399 seal submissions, and taking in nearly 22,000 written comments from Minnesotans all over our state.
Their goal? To create symbols every Minnesotan could be proud of. And although the feedback hasn't been universally positive,
there is a huge conspiracy theory that I'm secretly Somalian and the flag represents Somalia. And, I got a lot of online hate for that. So I'm like, I'm just a kid from rural Minnesota.
They hope Minnesotans are proud to use them, at least for the next 166 years.
The loon itself kind of has its chest up in the air. It has this proud stature. So I think just being proud of where we live and who we are, and everything that Minnesota embodies.
Alan Henry, WCCO News.